My name is Hallie, and this is Jeffrey, my husband, and I'm going to be walking you guys through a mobility routine that you can do on a daily basis. Now, this is active mobility work, so it's not passive stretching. You're going to be using your muscles and the tension that you build in your body to create active ranges of motion and try to really get as much of that end range of motion as you can. So, we're going to be addressing 4 different areas of the body today. And you can do this routine once or maybe twice in a row to really get everything warmed up before you do a workout or before you just start your day in general. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to start with some scapula CARs. Our scapulas are our shoulder blades. Jeffrey's going to be doing everything and I'm just going to be cueing, so feel free to follow along with Jeffrey. Okay, so you're going to come into a tall kneeling position. So let's have Jeffrey face to the side so you guys can see what he's doing. Yeah. You're going to bring your toes to curl under toward your shins. And then you're going to think about dropping your tailbone down and engaging your glutes like you're squeezing them really nice and tight, so that way our pelvis is in a posterior tilt. Good. And shoulders, hips, and knees are all in line like you're in a tall standing plank position. From here, you're going to reach your arms straight forward. Awesome. And so we're going to create tension with the body, and you want to make sure you have a decent amount of tension, so that way if someone were to try to move your arm, they wouldn't be able to move it. That's the kind of tension that we want. So not just squeezing the fist, but full body tension, bracing the abs, squeezing the glutes, keeping everything nice and tight. So from here, we're going to begin a controlled articular rotation of the scapula joint. So we're going to start with retraction, bringing the shoulder blades together onto the spine. And you want to keep your elbows really nice and straight as you do that, making sure that the rib cage stays pulled down and in. From here, keep the shoulder blades together, and you're going to glide up toward your ears, elevating your scaps. Fists come along for the ride so they stay in line with your shoulders. Then from here, you're going to protract your shoulder blades forward. Think of sending those fists in front of you as far as you can. Good. And then keep them protracted and glide down away from your ears. Okay, we're going to do 2 more in that direction. Retract, glide up, protract forward in that elevation. Keep the tension as you glide down. Awesome. 1 more time in that direction, making sure to just get as much range of motion as you can while maintaining the posture with the rest of the body, so nothing is compensating. Awesome. Bring your shoulder blades together again. 1 more moment. Really squeeze them back. And now we're going to reverse. Keep those fists in line with your shoulders. Keep tension in the body. Protract forward to reverse. Then glide up toward your ears. Good. Then keep them up as you squeeze back into retraction. And then glide down. Nice. 2 more in that direction. Keep that full body tension. Protract. Glide up. Squeeze them together. And then glide down. Good. 1 more round. Trying to make it nice and smooth. It's kind of like a boxy circle that we're making. You just want to find those very end ranges of your 4 corners. Nice. Protract and release. Awesome. So even though we were just focusing on one joint, you can feel that everything in the body kind of fired up and engaged. So that's what we're after. Okay, so next we're going to come down onto hands and knees and go through some segmentation of the spine. So, yeah, actually if you could turn and face more that way, Jeff. Good, awesome. So your knees are going to be hips width distance. We're going to curl the toes under again toward the shins. Awesome. From here, shoulders right above your wrists. Spread your fingers nice and wide, making sure that you're pressing down with both hands so you're pushing away the floor. Great. We're going to start in full flexion of the spine, so rounding it as much as we can, thinking of dropping the tailbone down, but hips stay right above the knees and shoulders stay right above the wrists. Head and neck are fully relaxed. From here, we're going to articulate up the spine as much as we can, so each vertebrae has its own moment. We're going to send the tailbone up first, keeping the upper spine rounded in flexion, and you're going up each vertebrae piece by piece, like a slow wave up the spine. As your chest begins to open, keep pushing away from the floor. Good. Head lifts up last. Nice. Take a breath here. Now keep your head up as long as you can, and you're going to drop your tailbone down toward the floor slowly. So we're going into lumbar flexion. Good. Then T-spine flexion. and then cervical flexion with the neck as the head drops down last. Okay, we're gonna do 2 more rounds of that, starting at the tailbone first. And just trying to keep that alignment the whole time, hips above knees, shoulders above wrists, keeping the body active. Even though we're really making this a fluid motion, we still wanna hold some tension and engagement in the body, so we're not letting gravity win and sink into scapular retraction. We wanna protract and push away from the floor. Awesome. Good. We've got 1 more. Tailbone initiates by reaching up in space behind you and then slowly segment. And Jeffrey has some pretty great control over his spine because he's been practicing these for a long time. But you might have, when you first try these, a little bit more of blocks of your spine that move together in big chunks, and that's okay. The more you practice, the better you'll get at finding that segmentation. Go ahead, drop the tailbone down and slowly wave all the way back up into your full flex spine, really pulling that rib cage in and up as you round your T-spine, head drops down last. Nice, take 1 more breath here. Awesome, go ahead, come out of that position. Great, okay, so we're gonna go into some ankle cars next before we go into the hip cars, just so you have a break off of your wrists. Okay, so I'm actually gonna do these with you guys, and I'm gonna show you 2 different setups. So Jeffrey is gonna set up with his legs straight, and his opposite foot is gonna come underneath his calf, so that way there's a little bit of space between the floor and his foot. Now I'm gonna set up with the same leg, but we're gonna pull into like a hook underneath, like a chokehold position almost with your thigh, and then your other arm is gonna lock on top of your shin, and you're gonna grab your bicep with the arm that sweeps under. So you're really locking your leg in toward your body and trying to keep a nice tall posture. Now we're gonna start this ankle car with dorsiflexion of our ankle, so pull your toes back toward your shin as much as you can. And then from here, just moving the ankle joint, nothing in the upper leg moves at all. You're gonna start bringing your big toe across toward the midline of your body. And once you can't get it any further across, you're gonna start to gas pedal through the ball of your foot, pressing down and forward into plantar flexion. Begin to point your toes. Good, big toe still reaching toward the midline. And then start to sweep across through that center like ballerina point that you have. And we all have a beautiful ballerina point, right? And then pinky toe reaches out away from the midline of the body in that plantar flexion. And once you can't get it any further out to the side, you're gonna start to pull the toes up and back as you drive your heel forward. Nice. Okay, then from there, start to sweep the toes back up to the top center. Awesome, we'll go 1 more time in that direction. Big toe sweeps toward the midline of the body. Then start to press the ball of the foot forward as you stretch the top part of your ankle and your foot. And then sweep the toes slowly through center. Pull that pinky toe out to the side. You might feel all of this stuff on the side of your ankle and shin start to engage, and then pull that foot up and back as you drive your heel forward, pinky toe still reaching out to the side, and then toes come up to center. Okay, now we're gonna go 2 in the opposite direction, and just try to go nice and slow. Notice if your knee is starting to rotate or your femur and your hip are starting to rotate, because often if we don't have the range of motion in our ankle, our knee and our hip are gonna try to make up for it and join in on the party. But we wanna keep it just an ankle party. So go nice and slow and really try to just isolate that ankle joint. 1 more in this direction. Pinky toe goes out, push the ball of the foot forward. Find that plantar flexion, really stretching the top of your foot. You might feel a little bit of cramps there. See if you can breathe through it. Pull that big toe across, and then drive the heel forward as you pull the top half of your foot up and back. Come back to the top center and rest. Good, let's switch legs and whatever position works for you. And if this feels uncomfortable with your foot underneath your calf, put like a big book or a yoga block underneath your calf instead, okay? All right, set up for the second side with your ankle car. Drive the toes back toward you, heel drives forward to start in the dorsiflexion, and then we're gonna start with the big toe coming toward the midline of the body. Good, and then once you can't get it any further toward the midline, you're gonna start to push your foot forward like you're pressing a gas pedal down on the floor of your car. Toes start to point as you slowly sweep the toes through the center in that ballerina point. And then pinky toe is going to start to reach out away from your ankle. Pull the pinky toe all the way back and out away from the midline as you drive your heel forward, and then toes come up through center. One more in that direction. Go nice and slow. You're working on your control. So with this active mobility, we're trying to really reach through the end range of our joints actively, right? So we're trying to control the motion rather than just breeze through it. So if it feels easy, see if you can try harder to find your end range and really go slow and control it. Now we got two in the opposite direction, so pinky toe goes out away from the midline. Start to push through the ball of the foot to start going into plantar flexion. Once your toes will start to point, you're going to sweep through center. Drive the big toe toward the midline. Start pulling that big toe all the way up and back as you drive your heel forward, and keep pulling the toes toward you as you bring them up to center. Nice. And now we got one more in that direction, so just keep up that nice slow tempo. Try to make it nice and smooth. And if you have a spot that feels like really sticky, just try to stick through that area and make it as smooth as possible. You know, we're all kind of staring at our feet and our ankles right now. But yeah, I mean, it takes a lot of concentration. All right, go ahead and rest. Nice. We have one more car for you, a controlled articular rotation that we're going to focus on today, and that's the hip car. So I'm going to talk Jeffrey through it. He's going to demo. You're going to get onto hands and knees for this again. I'm just going to come behind you, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. Perfect. Okay. So you're going to start with your shoulders above your wrists again, knees directly below the hips, toes curled under toward the shins. We're going to do 2 reps, and then we'll change to the other side. So for the hip car, you're going to start by squeezing your heel toward your butt cheek. Let's start with this leg. Yeah, perfect. So you want to find that calf squeezing toward your hamstring to really engage the posterior chain of your leg and your glute. And then you're going to lift that knee just a little bit above the ground, like a centimeter off the ground. And we're going to hold there for a second, noticing that your body is going to want to shift weight to the opposite side. I want you to keep more weight in the arm of the leg that's lifted. Nice. Now pull the knee forward toward your chest. And we're pulling it forward as much as we can without going into lumbar flexion. So you want to keep your spine nice and long, just like Jeffrey's got here. Good. From here, keep pulling the knee forward as you lift the leg out to the side slowly. And you'll feel that activation on the outside of the glute and the hip. Try not to rotate your pelvis open. So notice how Jeffrey's hips and pelvis are staying square to the floor. From here, start to drift the knee back in space a few inches. You're going to get your knee just behind your hip joint and then pause. Keep the knee where it is and try to internally rotate at your hip, so that means your foot's going to try to turn up toward the ceiling as much as you can. Good. Now start to really find that hamstring and lift your knee up higher, and then keep lifting it up as you bring it all the way back in line with your hip joint, so it's all the way in line with that side of your body. Hold here. Take a breath. Push out of the shoulders more. Pull rib cage in a little bit more. Good. Drop your tailbone down a little bit more so your pelvis stays in a posterior tilt. Good, good. Now hold there for a breath. Really squeeze that calf to hamstring. And now we're just going to reverse it by abducting the knee back out to the left or the hip out to the left. Good. Pause when you can't get any further in that internal rotation. And then you're going to start to externally rotate your hip. Good. Ankle drops down in line with the knee. Start sweeping the knee forward just like Jeffrey's doing. Pull it in toward you as you bring it back under your body and rest. Nice. Good job, guys. We got one more rep on that side. We're just going to go a little bit faster. I know that one was kind of slow, but it takes a lot of motor control to figure out this sequence, so the slower the better, really. Okay, so again, on that same side, squeeze your heel to your butt cheek. Lift the knee about a centimeter off the ground. Good. Then start to pull the knee forward into your maximum hip flexion without rounding your spine. Keep pushing out of your shoulders. Good. Abduct your hip. Start to lift the leg out to the side. Then start to drift your knee back in space. Good. Once you get your knee a little bit behind your hip, you're going to internally rotate and then start to pull the knee back even further in line with your hip joint. Keep trying to lift with your hamstring. Good. And now reverse it. Bring the leg out to the side. Good. Externally rotate the hip. pull it forward slowly. Find that max hip flexion in the front of your hip and bring it down. Nice. Good job, guys. Okay. Let's just have Jeffrey turn around so you can see his other leg. Awesome. Yeah. Okay, so set up, again, shoulders right above the wrists, knees above the hips, curl your toes under, brace your abs. Good, keep that spine nice and long. Now squeeze that heel to your butt cheek on the second side. Lift the knee just a tiny bit up off the floor. It doesn't have to be high. I want you to just feel out what your body wants to do there. I want you to keep weight in that same arm of the leg that's lifted. Good. Now start to slowly pull the knee forward toward you. Try not to let your tailbone tuck under. You want to keep your tailbone reaching back in space. Awesome. From here, start to lift the leg out to the side, nice and slow. Notice if your pelvis starts to rotate open. You want to keep that pelvis steady. Good. From here, start to drift the knee back in space like you're making a half circle with your leg. Pause right there. Internally rotate at your hip. Nice. Try to drive that heel up toward the ceiling and find more hamstring and more push away from the floor as you do so. Now start to bring your knee all the way back in line with your body. Find more hamstring. Try to lift that knee up higher, but don't let your spine go into extension. Good. Keep reaching your sternum forward. Yeah. Awesome. Pause right there. Take another breath. Now we're slowly going to abduct the hip, bringing the knee back out to the side. Good. Pause right there. Externally rotate. Try to keep the knee in the same spot. Yeah. Good. Then pull the knee forward as you circle it forward and bring the knee underneath you, getting as much hip flexion as you can, and rest. Awesome. Take a few breaths. We have one more rep, just a little bit faster. Yeah, and this is a lot on your wrist, guys. If you don't train, active wrist extension, it might feel painful or like really tender. So don't worry, we're going to be coming out with some classes on wrist work that you can do for yourself to make it a little bit wrist extension and make it feel like you can control that. Okay, so next, same side, one more rep. You got it, guys. Here we go. Squeeze the heel to the butt cheek. Lift the knee about a centimeter off the floor and then pull the knee in toward you, getting as much hip flexion as you can. Good. Start to abduct your hip, bringing the leg up and out to the side. Then start to drift that knee back in space. Good. Sweeping it back a little more and then start to internally rotate. Find your hamstring as much as you can. Use that hamstring to lift the knee as you bring the knee all the way back in line with your hip. Yes. Good. Now hold there, take a breath, try to push away the floor, keep lengthening out through the top of your head a little higher, Jeffrey. Yeah, good. Hold, and now reverse. Abduct back out to the side. Good, pause right there, externally rotate. Nice, now slowly start pulling that knee forward as you circle it back underneath you. Get it in as far as you can, and then rest. Awesome, sweet. So that's it for today, guys. That was just a quick mobility series that you can do on a daily basis. If you have any questions, just leave a comment below. We'll answer them and try to address all your questions. And look out for our next mobility series where we've got some fun things planned. Yeah, and subscribe to our channel for more mobility work and strength work that you can do at home really easily. A lot of our stuff is just body weight. So yeah, tune in then. And I'm the Iron Beanie on Instagram, at the Iron Beanie. He's the Iron Jefe. So follow us on there, and we'll see you guys next time. Thanks. Bye-bye.